Every generation is handed a question that cannot be ignored. Not, how smart are you? Not, how talented are you? But something far more personal. Who could you become if you stopped standing in your own way? Somewhere inside you is a voice that has been waiting for permission to speak. It has survived every disappointment, every failure, every moment someone underestimated your worth. It has watched you settle for less than you were created to become. It has seen you shrink your dreams so they could fit inside the expectations of others. Yet despite everything, that voice has never stopped believing that there is more to your story. The world has a way of convincing us that potential belongs only to the gifted, the lucky, or the fearless. But history tells a different story. The people who changed the world were not born carrying certainty in their hands. They carried questions. They carried scars. They carried moments when they doubted whether they were enough. The difference was not the absence of fear. It was the decision to keep walking despite it. Your greatest limitation is rarely your circumstances. It is the invisible boundary drawn by yesterday's disappointments, old labels, and borrowed opinions. Every time you accept those boundaries as permanent, you quietly surrender a future that was meant to be extraordinary. Today is not about becoming someone else. It is about uncovering the strength, courage, wisdom, and purpose that have always lived within you. Because the most powerful transformation in life does not begin when the world changes around you. It begins the moment you decide that the person staring back at you in the mirror is capable of far more than they have ever imagined. And when that moment arrives, everything changes. People often spend their lives searching for greatness, as though it were hidden somewhere beyond the horizon. They believe that success belongs to a chosen few. That confidence is a gift handed to certain people at birth, or that extraordinary lives are reserved for those who were simply luckier than everyone else. But the truth is far more powerful. Greatness is not something waiting outside of you. It has always been within you, quietly waiting to be recognized. Every person enters this world carrying gifts that cannot be measured by grades, wealth, appearance, or status. Hidden beneath your fears, your mistakes, and your doubts is a version of yourself capable of far more than you have allowed yourself to believe. The challenge is not to create potential from nothing. The challenge is to awaken what has been sleeping inside you all along. Too often, we confuse our current circumstances with our permanent identity. We fail once and begin to call ourselves failures. We hear criticism and start believing it is the truth. We compare our first steps with someone else's finish line and convince ourselves that we were never meant to achieve anything remarkable. But your potential does not disappear because you have struggled. It does not shrink because life has been difficult. It does not vanish because someone else failed to see your value. Potential remains patient. It waits beneath every disappointment, every setback, and every closed door, ready to rise the moment you choose to believe that your story is not finished. Imagine a seed resting beneath the soil. To anyone looking from above, it appears lifeless. It seems small, insignificant, and forgotten. Yet, hidden inside that tiny seed is the complete design of a mighty tree. The strength of its trunk, the reach of its branches, and the shade it will one day provide already exists within it. The seed does not borrow greatness from the outside world. It simply grows into what it was always meant to become. Human potential works the same way. Your abilities, your creativity, your resilience, and your purpose are already part of who you are. They require nourishment through learning, discipline, courage, and persistence, but they do not need permission from the world to exist. There will always be voices telling you what you cannot do. Some will come from strangers. Others may come from people you love. The loudest voice, however, is often the one inside your own mind, repeating every failure, every rejection, and every fear. That voice will try to convince you that you are too late, too ordinary, too inexperienced, or too broken to become something greater. But your future should never be built upon the opinions of fear. Fear only measures risk. It never measures possibility. The remarkable truth is that every challenge you overcome reveals another layer of the strength already within you. Every difficult decision teaches you courage you did not know you possessed. Every obstacle develops qualities that comfort could never produce. Life is not trying to hide your potential from you. In many ways, it is constantly creating opportunities for you to discover it. Every hardship asks the same question. Will you define yourself by this moment, or will you allow this moment to reveal the person you were always capable of becoming? The journey toward unlocking your true potential does not begin with becoming someone new. It begins with believing that the greatness you admire in others can also be awakened within you through faith, discipline, persistence, and the courage to keep growing when no one else can yet see the person you are becoming. Fear and self-doubt are among the most powerful forces that hold people back, not because they are stronger than human potential, but because they are often accepted as truth. They build invisible walls around the mind, convincing you that safety is better than growth and that certainty is more valuable than possibility. These walls cannot be seen, yet they can limit an entire lifetime. They persuade talented people to remain silent, capable people to settle for less, and dreamers to abandon their ambitions before they ever have the chance to begin. The greatest tragedy is not failing to achieve a dream. It is never attempting it, because fear convinced you that you were incapable. Fear has a unique way of disguising itself. It rarely announces its presence with dramatic warnings. Instead, it whispers quiet excuses that seem reasonable. It tells you to wait until the timing is perfect, to gain more experience before taking the first step, or to avoid challenges because failure might be embarrassing. At first, these thoughts appear harmless, but over time they become habits. Days turn into months, months become years, and opportunities disappear while you continue preparing for a moment that never arrives. Fear does not always stop you by force. Sometimes it simply persuades you to postpone your own future. Self-doubt grows in a similar way. It often begins with comparison. You see someone else's success and immediately measure your weaknesses against their strengths. You overlook the years of effort behind their achievements and focus only on the polished result. Suddenly, your own progress feels insignificant. You begin questioning your intelligence, your abilities, and your worth. The more you compare yourself to others, the more you forget that every remarkable journey started with uncertainty, mistakes, and imperfect beginnings. No one begins as an expert, and no meaningful accomplishment is created without moments of struggle. Many of the beliefs that limit us were never ours to begin with. They were formed by criticism, rejection, disappointment, or the expectations placed upon us by others. Someone once said you were not talented enough, and you carried those words for years. A single failure convinced you that success belonged to everyone except you. A difficult season made you believe that hardship was your permanent destination. Over time, these experiences become stories you repeat to yourself until they feel like facts. But a belief repeated often is not necessarily the truth. Sometimes it is simply a fear that has been rehearsed so many times it has become familiar. The most extraordinary people are not those who never experience fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear become the author of their lives. Courage is not the absence of uncertainty. Courage is making the decision to move forward while uncertainty still exists. Every breakthrough in history began with someone who acted before they felt completely ready. They understood that confidence is not something you possess before taking action. Confidence is something you build because you take action. Every time you face a challenge, instead of avoiding it, fear loses a little of its power. Every time you speak when your voice shakes, try again after failure, or continue despite criticism, you prove to yourself that your limitations are not as permanent as they once appeared. The prison of self-doubt begins to crack, and with every courageous decision, you replace imagined boundaries with real experience. The stories that once convinced you to stay small no longer control your direction, and the person you become is shaped not by fear's predictions, but by your willingness to believe that your future deserves more than the limits your doubts once tried to impose. Every meaningful transformation begins with a choice. Before success becomes visible, before confidence takes root, and before dreams become reality, there is always a decision that changes everything. It is rarely a dramatic moment filled with applause or recognition. More often it is quiet, deeply personal, and almost invisible to everyone else. It is the moment you decide that your future will no longer be controlled by your excuses, your fears, or your past. Growth does not arrive by accident. It begins when you choose progress over comfort, even when that choice feels difficult. Many people wait for motivation before they act. They believe that one day they will wake up feeling inspired enough to chase their goals with complete confidence. But life does not work that way. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Some days it shines brightly, and other days it disappears without warning. If your future depends entirely on how inspired you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Growth belongs to those who understand that commitment is more reliable than emotion. The people who achieve remarkable things are often the ones who continue moving forward long after excitement has faded. Courageous choices are not always the biggest ones. Sometimes they are found in the smallest actions repeated consistently. Choosing to wake up earlier to learn a new skill, deciding to read instead of endlessly scrolling through distractions, speaking honestly when it would be easier to remain silent. or trying again after experiencing failure may seem insignificant in the moment, yet these small decisions shape your identity. Every choice becomes a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Over time, your daily habits create your destiny far more powerfully than your occasional bursts of ambition. One of the greatest obstacles to growth is the desire for certainty. We want guarantees before taking risks. We want to know the outcome before we begin the journey. But certainty is a luxury that growth rarely provides. Every worthwhile opportunity requires stepping into territory where the answers are not yet clear. The entrepreneur does not know whether the business will succeed. The writer does not know how readers will respond. The athlete does not know whether years of training will lead to victory. They move forward anyway because they understand that uncertainty is not a signal to stop. It is often proof that they are entering a place where growth becomes possible. Failure is also part of every courageous choice. Too many people see failure as evidence that they should quit, when in reality it is often evidence that they are trying something meaningful. Every setback carries lessons that comfort can never teach. Every mistake develops wisdom that success alone cannot provide. Instead of asking, "What if I failed?" ask a different question. What kind of person will I become if I never try? The pain of temporary failure fades with time, but the regret of unrealized potential can remain for a lifetime. The people you admire are not defined by perfect decisions. They are defined by their willingness to make difficult ones. They chose discipline when comfort called their name. They chose persistence when quitting seemed easier. They chose hope when circumstances encouraged despair. These decisions were not always glamorous, but they were powerful because they were consistent. Character is built one courageous decision at a time, and every act of bravery strengthens your ability to face the next challenge. Your future is not determined by a single extraordinary moment. It is shaped by the ordinary choices you make every single day. Each decision either moves you closer to the life you were created to live, or quietly pulls you away from it. Every time you choose growth over fear, action over hesitation, learning over excuses, and purpose over comfort, you become stronger, wiser, and more capable of achieving the extraordinary life that has been waiting on the other side of your courage. Dreams are inspiring, but dreams alone have never changed a life. Every remarkable achievement you admire was built upon countless ordinary days, filled with discipline, persistence, and consistent effort. People often celebrate the final victory while overlooking the quiet mornings, the lonely evenings, the repeated failures, and the unwavering commitment that made that victory possible. Talent may capture attention, but discipline earns lasting success. It is the bridge between vision and reality, between wishing for a better future and building one with your own hands. Many people believe that talent is the greatest advantage a person can possess. They assume that naturally gifted individuals have an easier path to success. While talent can provide an early opportunity, it cannot replace dedication. A talented person who neglects practice will eventually be surpassed by someone with average ability who refuses to stop improving. History consistently reminds us that greatness belongs not to those who start with the most, but to those who remain faithful to the process long after others have given up. Discipline has a way of multiplying ordinary effort into extraordinary results. One of the greatest misconceptions about discipline is that it is restrictive. In reality, discipline creates freedom. When you control your habits stop controlling you. Instead of becoming a prisoner to procrastination, distractions, or temporary emotions, you become the architect of your own future. Every disciplined decision strengthens your ability to choose what truly matters over what merely feels comfortable. The freedom to achieve your goals is earned through the willingness to master your daily actions. Success is rarely created in moments of excitement. It is built during moments when no one is watching. It is choosing to continue studying after others have stopped. It is practicing one more time when fatigue begins to whisper that enough is enough. It is showing up with excellence, even when there is no applause waiting at the end. The world often notices the performance, but it rarely sees the preparation. Yet preparation is where character is formed, confidence is built, and excellence becomes a habit instead of an accident. There will always be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. On those days, motivation may disappear completely. This is where discipline becomes your greatest companion. Unlike motivation, discipline does not depend on emotion. It does not ask whether you feel inspired. It simply reminds you of the commitment you made to yourself. The strongest people are not those who always feel ready. They are the ones who continue honoring their responsibilities, even when their emotions encourage them to quit. Every small act of consistency carries more power than occasional bursts of perfection. Reading a few pages every day teaches more than reading an entire book once a year. Practicing a skill regularly develops greater mastery than waiting for the perfect opportunity to improve. Saving a little money consistently builds stability more effectively than hoping for sudden wealth. These small actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they create a momentum that transforms lives. Greatness is rarely the result of one extraordinary effort. More often, it is the accumulation of thousands of faithful decisions repeated with patience. Discipline also shapes your identity. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your self-respect. Every commitment you honor reinforces the belief that you are dependable, capable, and resilient. The relationship you have with yourself becomes stronger because you learn that your words are backed by action. Confidence grows naturally when you consistently prove to yourself that you can be trusted to follow through, regardless of circumstances. The path toward unlocking your true potential will never be free from challenges, distractions, or moments of doubt. Yet those obstacles lose their power when your habits become stronger than your excuses. Every disciplined choice lays another stone on the road toward the life you envisioned, turning distant dreams into daily progress, and daily progress into achievements that once seemed impossible to reach through anything other than unwavering consistency and determined action. Every person carries within them a purpose that is greater than comfort. Yet comfort has a quiet way of convincing us that staying where we are is safer than discovering who we could become. It invites us to choose familiarity over growth, routine over possibility, and convenience over transformation. At first, this choice feels harmless. After all, there is nothing difficult about remaining where life feels predictable. But over time, comfort becomes more than a place to rest. It becomes a place where dreams slowly lose their urgency, where ambition fades into routine, and where untapped potential quietly waits for a chance that never comes. The greatest danger is not that comfort will hurt you immediately, but that it will keep you satisfied with a life that is far smaller than the one you were created to live. Purpose has always demanded movement. It calls people beyond what is familiar and asks them to step into uncertainty with courage. Every meaningful achievement in history began when someone was willing to leave behind the safety of what they already knew. The inventor risked failure to create something new. The leader accepted criticism to stand for what was right. The artist faced rejection before their work inspired the world. None of these journeys began inside a comfortable space. They began with a decision to believe that what lay ahead was more valuable than what had to be left behind. Many people spend years waiting for life to become easier before they pursue their calling. They believe that once every obstacle disappears, they will finally have the confidence to move forward. But purpose rarely reveals itself in perfect conditions. It often appears in the middle of uncertainty, challenge, and discomfort. Waiting for fear to disappear is like waiting for the ocean to become perfectly still before learning to sail. Growth happens because you learn to navigate the waves, not because the waves stop existing. Comfort also creates the illusion of security. It whispers that taking risks could lead to disappointment. So remaining where you are is the wiser choice. Yet, history reminds us that the greatest risks are often the opportunities we never pursue, the dream left unspoken, the talent left undeveloped, the idea left unfinished, and the courage left unused all carry a hidden cost. Years later, people rarely regret the honest attempts that failed. They regret the possibilities they abandoned because fear convinced them that safety was enough. Purpose requires sacrifice. It asks for your time when entertainment seems easier. It asks for discipline when distraction is more appealing. It asks for perseverance when quitting would provide immediate relief. These sacrifices are not punishments. They are investments. Every hour spent learning, every setback endured with resilience, and every difficult decision made with integrity shapes you into the person capable of fulfilling your calling. The price of purpose is always temporary, but the rewards often echo for a lifetime. The remarkable thing about purpose is that it grows stronger each time you choose it over comfort. Every courageous decision expands your confidence. Every challenge develops wisdom. Every obstacle strengthens character. You begin to discover abilities you never knew existed because difficult situations demand strengths that comfortable circumstances never required. What once seemed impossible gradually becomes achievable, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger through the process. There will always be voices encouraging you to settle for what is easy, ordinary, and familiar. They may tell you that your dreams are unrealistic, that your goals are too ambitious, or that you should simply accept the limits others have placed upon you. But purpose has never been shaped by the expectations of the crowd. It is shaped by the quiet conviction that your life was meant to make a difference beyond your own comfort. The moment you choose purpose over convenience, courage over hesitation, and growth over complacency, you begin walking toward the fullest expression of who you were always capable of becoming, discovering that the life waiting beyond your comfort zone is richer, deeper, and far more extraordinary than anything you ever imagined possible.